This podcast is being sponsored by the Rise Up Project.
Trust the process. Pain is power. All great things take time. I am unbreakable. Unbreakable.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Unbreakables podcast, episode 10. I am your host, Jay, and today I have the pleasure of sitting down with a multimillionaire, serial entrepreneur, real estate investor, transformational coach, speaker, and author of Change Your Mindset, Change Your Life. This is a true rags to riches story. Please help me welcome Garrain Jones.
Again.
No, man, but like I said earlier, I really appreciate you and again taking the time out of your day to come on the Unbreakables twice in the same
Yes,
week,
indeed. I'm so grateful for the opportunity as well.
No, absolutely. So like you already know the ropes. I really want to just dive into who you were before Garrain Jones today. And let's really just touch base on your failures, your adversities, and your low points. And then we'll slowly transition until what led you here today. Maybe let's just start with a little bit of your childhood, and then we'll just go from there.
Okay, so I've always been optimistic. I've always, anytime I said I wanted something, I would go and get it. My mother was the first person to just instill that in me because we didn't come from money. So when she said, when you can make your own money, you can buy whatever you want to. So that I started, and this is at 5 and 6 years old, lemonade stand, cutting people's lawns, washing people's car with the same dirty water. So I was like a little entrepreneur before I even knew what entrepreneur was. Fast forward years, like, 7th grade, 8th grade, I started getting into a lot of trouble, running the streets, breaking in the cars, breaking into houses, going to juvenile, in and out of juvenile, and getting kicked out of school. It was still the same little kid that had the little lemonade stand. I lacked the discipline and knowing how to transfer all of my energy into something that would produce an extraordinary life. And my mother was always at work. And at the time, my brother was too cool to hang out with me. So the only thing it was is I was by myself, or I was hanging out with the other kids that caused a lot of problems in the streets. Naturally, that would carry over into adulthood, which led me to just doing whatever I could to make some money, even while I was like trying to model, trying to act, but I never had discipline growing up on pretty much anything because I pretty much had to raise myself. My mom was always there as far as like providing a home and providing food, but from the discipline aspect for me actually getting it, I never really got that to the point where I could relate to somebody who was talking to me. So I kind of was on my own learning from those who took me in, which was gang members, people were running the streets, drug dealers, people like to fight all the time, breaking into houses. So that was my domestication. And it gave me this hard edge, but I had this pretty boy face. So it confused people. It's like, how can you go to jail? How can you go to prison? You don't look like you could, but you should never judge a book by its cover. So that's what pretty much groomed my childhood. And then when I went out on my own, I still kept the same skills. It's kind of like when you play, when you fight or you do karate, you go white belt, you learn all those skills. That carries over into the next discipline to get the new belt. So my skills in breaking into cars and doing a bunch of crazy stuff
Higher
carried
power,
over.
right?
It just carried over to the next thing, to the point where I was 22 years old, in magazines, in music videos, but it wasn't the magazines and music videos that I was striving for. I was striving to make money
Mm-hmm.
and do anything that I could to make money so that I could buy whatever I want.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what happened was then I found myself driving an illegal car over a border on seven different occasions. On the eighth occasion, I got caught, found out that it was 6.2 kilos of heroin, got busted, and I was serving a 12-year sentence in a French prison, and I got out in 2.5 years.
Man, okay, so let's backtrack just a little bit. Okay, so you were 22 years old when you got pulled over, right?
Yeah.
Going back a little bit, the people that you surrounded yourself with, you didn't know any better. So
I always knew I was doing something wrong.
Mhm.
However, I never thought about repercussions because the people that I was hanging out with were effortlessly doing it. And this was my core group of people. So I was naturally doing everything that they were doing. If you take a kid, if you take a Japanese kid and then immediately from Japan, take him from Japan and then put him in an American home where everybody's speaking English, and it grows up, and the baby grows up only knowing what it's conscious of, the baby will never have an understanding that the baby's actually Japanese until someone makes him aware, or how to speak Japanese until someone makes him aware. So I grew up in the domestication of, same as the Japanese kid, the domestication of a completely different environment. So put me in another environment, all I know is what I know.
And you had that hustler's mentality.
Absolutely. I use it every single day. I just hustle people to have a better life now.
So would you say that a lot of that also stemmed from your dad passing away when you were 12 years old?
So he was murdered by two men when I was 12. And that was like a drug deal gone wrong. And I took the blame for that because it was my week to go over to his house. And then after my dad died, I felt like half of me died. And it was in that moment where I just stopped caring about everything. So up to that point, I got into a lot of trouble, but not like going to jail trouble.
Right.
After that point, my trouble amplified times 10 because I really stopped caring. I was like, what's the point?
There you go. Okay, so you get pulled over and you're 22 years old, and what do the cops pull out of the trunk?
So like I said before, they pull out, well, I didn't say before, they pull out these Congo drums. Now I know if I'm thinking about it, it's going to be written all over my face. So I knew I was doing something wrong. However, I didn't know how deep it was. So I get pulled over. There's Congo drums. I never looked at they called it the boot, which is the trunk. Never looked at the trunk. Open up the trunk. There's two Congo drums. And I'm like, what's in those Congo drums? What's in those Congo drums? I really don't know. They open up the Congo drums, and the Congo drums were empty. Well, no. They ran it through the x-ray first. And when you see through the x-ray, you can see these like little shades of bricks that go by. They opened up the Congo drums and it was empty and everybody was confused. So they took an axe, opened up the Congo drums, and they start pulling out these little yellow bricks. I'm like, my life is over. And it was in that moment I now felt the effect of what not caring was like, not having discipline, not thinking about the repercussion. I felt all the weight of the world of everything that I had ever done. And there was lots of things that I got away with when I was a little kid. And I felt what karmic debt piled on all in this moment. Boom, prison, far away in another country.
For 2.5 years.
For 2.5 years, facing a 12-year sentence.
Okay, so during that time frame, what was your mindset? What did you get into in those 2.5 years?
So in the beginning, it was really difficult because I was still trying to figure out, I'm like, how did I get myself into this? While I'm in prison, I got music videos out, I got national commercials out, I got billboards in Times Square, there were so many things. I got campaigns. At one time, you walk into a mall, you can see me in 7 different stores. Wilson's Leather, Express Men, Wieners. You could see Academy. There's so many different stores at one time I'm in. And while I'm in there, now I'm in prison, and I'm like, yo, my life is over. So the whole time I was shaming myself by what was I thinking? How did I get myself to this point? And, you know, when you think about how, you know, time goes by when you're having fun, but when you're in between and you're not clear on where you are or what you're doing or what your purpose is, time starts to go by real slow. You can watch the clock and it'll seem like an hour just went by. So for the first 2 months, it was like I was watching the clock. The first 2 months felt like 5 years. Finally, I said, I gotta change some stuff up. What can I do in here that I wouldn't normally do out there? Because when I was outside, free, I was thinking about bills. I had all these kind of distractions. Then I was in prison, and all of a sudden, all the distractions went away, and all I had was time. Well, then what happened with time, I got to thinking and self-reflecting, got back to reading the Bible, started reading a book called The Power of Positive Thinking. I even read the Quran. I was reading anything that I could to keep my mind off of what was going on. And I'm just reading and reading and reading and reading and reading. All of a sudden, my mind starts to quiet. And then as my mind quiets, I start memorizing my dreams. And I start being real creative and like things that I was like, man, I haven't felt this creative since I was like a little kid, but I had all the time. So in losing my freedom, I found my freedom.
That's powerful. And I know you state that when you were out of jail, you felt like you were not free, but when you were in jail behind bars is when you felt the most free.
Yeah, but I didn't realize that because see, we got to watch movies. We got to watch a movie once a month, and then Shawshank Redemption came on, and it's a movie that's based inside of a prison. The setting is a prison, and Tim Robbins said they can take anything they want away from me, but they can't take away my mind. And instantly I had this epiphany. And I said, then that means as long as I'm doing what I love, then I'll be free. And it made sense why my mind started calming down. I started feeling better about myself because in that moment, I realized that I was a free man. I got back to doing everything that sets my soul on fire, that makes me happy. So an inmate said, every time you sing, it makes me feel free. So I would give my gift away and I would sing every single night. And he was in a cell down the hallway. And then all of a sudden he would feel free. I was painting portraits for people. I was just singing and doing all these things. I was running. And within a month, I had the whole cell block running with me when nobody was running in the beginning. They were just lifting weights or passing drugs or stabbing each other or fighting. But then when I started running, there was less stabbings, less drug deals, less fights and everything, to the point where the security guard was like, thank you, because since you've been doing this, there's been less of everything.
Wow.
Now, so get this. So while I was doing all of that, I said to myself, now I know why I'm in here. When I was outside and I was free, I was doing what everybody else wanted me to do. I was doing what society wanted me to do. I was doing what statistics wanted me to do. I was doing what my mom wanted me to do. I was doing what everybody else wanted me to do except for me. And I was pleasing everybody else but myself. So because I was pleasing everybody else but myself, I put myself in my own mental prison. And I was in a jail cell inside of a jail cell inside of a jail cell. And then when I realized that I was prison on outside, I used to always say, I'm so far away from where I'm supposed to be. I feel like I'm in prison inside of my own body. And I was like, wow, I'm in Europe, far away from where I'm supposed to be, in prison.
Hard,
and now I just figured out that I'm free. What that told me was the outside does not determine the inside. When you can possess your own mind, that's true freedom.
That is powerful. I love that. So in an interview, you state you get in life what you focus on, and you focus on what you want and how you want to feel. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Well, feeling is the secret. Feeling is like the fuel. So you got $1 billion rocket ship, but it goes nowhere without the fuel. Mm-hmm. So you say, oh, you know, I want to, and anything that somebody says that they want. You know, people say they want to go to heaven, but they don't want to die. People say they want to be successful, but they don't want to do what successful people do. So the feeling is the secret, because it gets you inside of whatever it is that you want. So when somebody says, oh, I want this, okay, what does this feel like? Because when you can feel it, then you can become it. When you can become it, the universe starts shaping and shifting around who you're being. If you're being a butthead, people are going to treat you like that. If you're being ugly to yourself, people are going to treat you like that. When I was insecure and being insecure inside of my daughter's relationship, that's how she was treating me. When I became the most powerful representation of who she will marry one day, and that shaped my actions and how I was thinking, because I was thinking from the desired wish. I was thinking from the feeling. And so because I was thinking from that, that was like a puppet master having me do different things, because the feeling and the emotion was driving my actions. It was driving my actions so much so that when I showed up in the world like that, the world had to show up for me like that.
Ooh, I love that. So what advice can you give someone who feels lost, depressed, and unfulfilled?
Well, one, you can't change what you're not aware of. So the first step is to be aware. One, I always tell people, what's the root cause? Like, where did that start? Because I've never seen a depressed baby. Baby come out happy, joyous. Joy is our natural state. And that whole loss thing, that it's lackful thinking. So I always channel them to connect to something that's in their heart. Even lost people have something that they love. There's something.
Deep, right? It's deep within.
Yeah, well, think about it. And then the heart is the most powerful frequency in the world. So if everything that you do has nothing to do with your heart, it would make sense why you would be lost. Mm-hmm. But if everything that you do is connected to your heart, you might be connected to something that has to do with feeling. Feeling is the secret. You cannot feel without your heart.
You can't feel with your mind, you got to feel with your heart.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So I always lead people to understanding certain things about their heart. I spoke to a girl one time. She was like, I feel like something is missing. I feel so lost. I have the money. I have a beautiful marriage. I have kids. I have this, but something is missing. I feel so lost. And I was like, what did you used to love when you were a little kid? And she said, I used to love dancing. And I was like, when was the last time you danced? She said, 20 years ago. And I said, you have a little kid, right? Yeah. She's like, boy or girl? Girls, 3 girls. Cool. What would you do? What do you think the relationship would be like if the little girl came up to you and was like, mom, 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 and you ignored her for the next 20 years? Mm-hmm. She said, there wouldn't be a relationship. She wouldn't trust me. I said, so you love dancing, right? What if I told you that dancing, the thing that set your soul on fire when you were a kid, was connected to your inner child? And your inner child is connected to your spiritual umbilical cord to heaven. And so when you operate from your inner child powers, it operates a higher power source within you because you already came here with that power. So if something is missing, one, you're thinking logically. It's like, I'm thinking, right? Now, if you haven't operated something that is connected to your heart, that is connected to your inner child, then there might mean that the logic is separated from the heart, or whatever the heart is rooted into. The heart is your soul. So if the soul is the inner child, there might be just a simple separation from physical and spiritual. So what's missing may be the truest essence of you. So when you go back to doing the things that you love, you actually get in your body and not in your thoughts.
You start to feel more alive.
Yes, your thoughts are all over the place. So then guess what she starts doing? She starts dancing once a week. Within a year, she loses the wrinkles from her face. She starts feeling younger. She's like, my body's not aching anymore. I was like, age don't make you old. It's when you let life beat you down and you're not doing the things that you love, and your spirit starts to sag. Your soul can't take that weight. So when you release the weight, then you actually start to feel what it feels like to be light.
Oof, that's deep. And that's a great way to see it too. And I can definitely relate to that, because I feel like for me, fitness is a huge part of my life. And, sometimes we all get so caught up with just being busy, you let go of the big pieces of your life, and you don't realize just that one little piece makes a huge difference in your being, in your spirit, in your soul, your heart. So I definitely understand where you're coming from. So would you say that being incarcerated made you become more intentional and present in your life?
No, it was part of the journey because I wasn't aware of any of those things. And like I said, you can't change without awareness. So whatever results I got, I just chalked it up to being lucky or praying or whatever, but you can actually create your life in an intentional way when you're aware of what you're creating. I didn't know. All I know is I started reading a book called The Power of Positive Thinking, and all these positive things start happening in my life. But I was just like, oh, I'm lucky. Then I stopped reading the book, and then all these negative things start happening in my life. And I was like, so strange. So I wasn't aware, and that, I was in prison in 2003 to 2005, but I didn't understand what had happened in 2011.
Mm.
In 2011, I went to a personal development seminar. They was like, you got to keep reading. Leaders are readers. And I was like, oh, I stopped reading the book. And so I thought I got it. When you think you got it, your ego creeps in. Your ego is like weeds. So your mind is a mental garden, and the thoughts that you plant and give it energy are seeds that you plant in your mental garden. Well, weeds don't need anything to grow. So when you're not constantly renewing your mind, the weeds of your past are going to come and overtake your garden. So that's why when you renew yourself, you take a shower every single day, you're renewing. You can take a shower every day for 5 years, stop for 5 days, see how you smell. Yeah. So you got to keep doing it. Mm-hmm. Same thing with brushing your teeth. Mm-hmm. So when you're working on your mind and renewing your mind every day, and then you stop for about a week, and crazy things start happening. So I wasn't aware. So until I connect the dots going backwards on my life to look, I'm like, that's why that happened. That's why she broke up with me. That's why I extracted the lessons from my past, because people always say, I'll leave the past in the past. Not if you didn't get the lesson, because you're going to keep recreating your past.
Of course, or holding on to it.
Yeah. So I extracted the lessons so I could close the loop.
Okay, so from 2003 to 2005, you serve your 2.5 term, and they come to you and say that they find out that the drugs are fake.
Yeah.
So then you get out of prison, walk away from serving, 12 years? That doesn't happen.
I was supposed to serve 12 years, but I got out in 2.5 because they retested the drugs and they ended up being fake.
So going back to those moments of those 2.5 years, do you believe that, it was everything that you were putting in your body, into your mind, into reading and just creating that life for you where you were able to manifest it? And for them to come to you and say those drugs were fake, I'm sorry, but that doesn't happen to everybody.
No, it's, the spiritual in me. I'm going to share something very woo-woo, but I'm going to give a really good analogy. If you can imagine a woman who's pregnant, mm-hmm. and she's impregnated, baby's inside the womb. What once grew from a sperm that now, they go from ovulation to the sperm that goes into the womb, and then all of a sudden the baby grows inside the womb. When it reaches a certain size, certain level that's too big for the space, what once was produced on the inside now is produced on the outside, which is the next level of that baby's life. Well, while I was giving away all this value by first filling up my own cup, if I was to fill up this cup and then all of a sudden it starts to spill over into the next container, and then when that next container is filled, it'll spill into the next container. Well, I look at what happened. Like I was pouring so much into myself that my spiritual self was too big for my physical body. So it starts to spill over into the prison, which is why now everybody was working out. It was less fights and everything. And it got too big for that space. So just like the baby in the womb, what was once produced on the inside grew too big for the space, was now produced as free Garrain.
Man.
That's what I feel happened.
Okay, so you get out of prison, and walk me through that moment. You get out of prison, and then you end up getting a record deal. Was it with DT?
So I got out, and they had to let me out to the city that I went in at, which was New York.
Okay.
And I was struggling in New York. I didn't really have any money. I was staying with my friend Sam, and I just needed to go back home to Houston so that I could so I can like recharge. So I went back to my old elementary school, met with my favorite teacher, Miss Cushionberry, ate my mom's cooking just so I could like start remembering and feeling again. Then I went back to Los Angeles, and I was at a popular comedy improv comedy show on a Monday night, and then I met Ludacris, and I had a what is it called, not a mixtape, but I had my demo on me, and I gave it to him. 3 weeks later, he signed me to a $500,000 record deal.
And how many years was this right after you got out?
In the same year. But here's the thing, is I cannot pass this up. So staying with my play brother. He's a good friend of mine. His name is D. Ray Davis, comedian. And he said to me, he was like, you're singing, so you want to sing, right? And I was like, yeah. He was like, don't come home unless you have a song. I was like, wait, what? He was like, listen, I'll give you a place to stay. I'll drive you wherever you want to go. Get you food, get you clothes, everything. You want to sing? Yep. Don't come home unless you have a song. And I was like, I don't have no money. I don't know no producers. I really don't know. A friend of mine told me about this crazy thing called MySpace. Oh, yeah. I got on MySpace, and I was just like, and before spam was available, I messaged 1,000 people looking to get in the studio because I didn't have any music. Took one person to say yes, a guy named John Henry. He recorded, it took me 3 days, but I messaged all these people. He told me to come to the studio. I went to the studio, recorded a song called Breathe It In and Let It Out. Within 30 days, I had 28 songs.
Wow.
2 weeks later, two weeks later, I had that record deal.
Wow. Okay, so then what happens after that?
So I ended up, Luda I was with DTP, Def Jam. Ludacris had flew me out to Atlanta. We was writing. I was in the studio with like Chingy and 2 Chainz. I was writing with 2 Chainz and Chingy and all of them and Luda. And you know, I remember they signed me, and who was it? It wasn't anybody over at DTP, but it was like one of the heads over at Def Jam at the time. And he said, we don't want to change anything about you. And I had this fun little quirky, just like alternative R&B type flavor. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, we want you to record this song. You know, we want you to do this kind of music. And I found myself on the stage with like gangster rappers, which I had no issue with because that's the community I grew up with. The thing about it is my music started to change. And it was my fault. I allowed it to change. And once my music was changing away from what got me signed in the first place, I lost myself. And I didn't know how to bounce back. So I ended up leaving, and everybody called me crazy. It was like, yo, you'll leave a record label with Luda? Are you crazy? I'm like, listen, I don't care who you
$500,000 deal.
None of that stuff matters to me if I can't bring my heart to the table. If I can't rock with it, I won't support it. You know, but if anybody knows me and how I operate, they'll know. I was homeless living in my car, but I still had a commercial agency. I booked a $250,000 Budweiser commercial, and I did not take it. And people called me crazy. They said, why? I said, because I ain't never had a sip of alcohol in my life. I'm not about to be fried just to make money. So I'm not going to make music that's not me just to make sales. It's just not me. There's got to be something where I can be myself, which is ultimately fighting for my freedom and not what other people want to see me as. That's why I lost myself, because I allowed myself to turn into what other people thought I should look like or be like or sound like or sing like or write like, instead of everything that was in my heart.
So did you stop reading the book during that time when you were writing your 28 songs?
Yes.
All right, so
And
you
I
quit.
didn't know.
You
I
quit.
didn't catch it. Huh?
Take me back to August 2011.
Well, that would be forward, because that would be forward to 2011, because right now we're talking about 2007.
So how long were you in that space in 2007 when you realized, okay, you know, I'm doing what everybody wants me to do. I'm becoming the person that everybody wants. When you realized it and you realized that you weren't fulfilled and you weren't living in your happy, you know, space, what did you do?
2009, I was just like, I'll do it myself. So I was trying to do everything myself, but I didn't have the skills, the mindset, the speaking. I didn't know how to communicate with people, and in the way in which my heart felt. You know, it was just a lot going on. Plus, I'm living in my car. Plus, I have no money. You know, it's like you gotta portray this image, because people have seen me in Celebrity Chick with Chingy and Luda and all them. So you see me on MTV, you see me on all these different things. So I'm portraying the image that the media sees me in. Meanwhile, I can't pay child support. I can't pay for myself. I don't have any money. No money's coming in. People are messing me over that I wrote songs for in the industry. And I'm like, yo, I'm done. I'm done with this industry and everybody in it. And then I left.
And that was in 2009.
I left in 2010. Like, because I was still, in 2009 is when I left DTP. And then I was doing everything independently. 2010 and a half is when I left the industry, period. Like nothing. I want absolutely nothing to do with music.
And during that time, you didn't have any mentors, right? Aside from books.
And if I did have mentors, I wouldn't have listened to them, because there was too much ego and pride that was blinding me from the possibility of seeing any kind of true beauty in the world.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're living in your car for what, two and a half years?
2.5 years.
2.5 years. You were showering at 24-hour Fitness.
Absolutely, yeah.
Your car got repoed.
Yeah, on several occasions. My mom would always send money so that I could get it out. And my mom didn't really have money back then, so I was like, man, like, damn, she ain't got it. And I'm like, in my 20s, I can't take care of myself. Now I'm 30, 31, and I'm a grown man asking my mom to like take care of me. I was like, man, I can't pay child support. I just I'm putting on 30, 40 pounds. My mom dying in the hospital. I'm asking her for money. Like, it was just crazy.
So let's fast forward August 2011 in that parking lot of what, 24 hours? And
no, it wasn't 24-hour fitness. What it was it was like this little shopping center where this yogurt place on the corner of La Brea and Hollywood, and it's also where I had my P.O. box, and where I would go and get my clothes washed. It was all in that same thing. So I would just go and sleep there, because I was, you know, the dog will always find his way home. So that was like home to me. So I felt more comfortable sleeping in that parking lot than just on some random street, had some random people opening up my doors.
So when would you say was your breakthrough?
So it was 2011, 3:43 in the morning, and I just got tired of everything, and I just remember yelling out to the top of my lungs. I was like, okay, I'm tired of fighting. I don't want to fight anymore. I want to be healthy. I want to be happy. I want to be surrounded by nothing but positive people. I just want to inspire people, and I want to make a bunch of money, but I want the money to represent something that I passionately believe in, that I would do for free. Just show me a sign. A week later, I'm at the gas station with my last $2, and a homeless guy walks up to me asking me for money. I said, you have more money than me. And he says, change your mindset, change your life. And right there, everything shifted. It was like something about the words that he said had stopped me in my tracks and caused me to have a conscious interrupt that made me think about my entire life, that flashed right before my eyes. Change your mindset, change your life. So if my mind is set on something, that's why the result is what it is. So if I do different with the same circumstances, my life will change. Change your mindset, change your life. Change your mindset, change your life. Change. And I just kept saying it over and over and over. Like when you listen to a song over and over and over, you just keep repeating it. So my new song was change your mindset, change your life. I get to the stairs. I get to the escalators. Change your mindset, change your life. So I'll take the stairs. And I just kept doing that every day. Well, an object in motion is going to stay in motion. I built a new neural pathway. I built a new pattern in my life unconsciously of doing the opposite. So getting healthy was a part of the opposite. Waking up was a part of the opposite. Reading a book was a part of the opposite. Going to seminars was a part. Everything that I've acquired and who I've become in this life was on the other side of something I would never do. And that's why I put all of these principles and philosophies in my book called Change Your Mindset, Change Your Life.
Love it. Okay, so what were some of your daily rituals and disciplines that you needed to establish that you're able to share with us?
Well, my biggest thing was anytime I had resistance towards anything, I would do the opposite. So I wasn't, again, all of this came because I just wasn't aware. So I was getting results, like crazy results. Like I was at one point just through health and wellness. And then once I started making money and putting it into real estate development and then other things that I was investing in, I was earning within the first 2 years, $20,000 a month. And in that time, just by me doing the opposite, it had me show up in life in a different way. But all I was focused on was that. So I didn't have any specific rituals during that time. I do now, but during that time, if we're habitual creatures by nature, if you always do the same thing, feel the same, and then you're 2 years removed of that same by all new habits, all new actions, a different way of being because now you're around different people. It was one action that led to 1,000, but I never focused on the 1,000. It was just the one that had me doing different things.
Okay, so with everything that you acquired, everything that you learned during that time frame, what are some of the tools and strategies that you can share with us that led you to success today?
So now I can connect the dots going backwards. And ultimately what happened was I was an extremely negative person. Well, your attitude reflects your leadership. If you can't change your attitude and shift your attitude, no matter what you do, your life is going to respond to the way in which you respond to life. So I would say figure out any way that you can that will put you in a good mood just for the sake of being in a good mood. Mm-hmm. There's one. Another tip. Make health your number one priority, because your health affects your heart. Your heart affects the way that you feel. The way that you feel affects the way that you think. The way that you think affects the way that you speak. The way that you speak affects your actions, and your actions affect the outcome. Everything is connected.
It's all connected.
So what people typically do is overcompensate in other areas to distract from an area that is coming from lack. You know, you see a lot of people that's making a lot of money, but they're extremely unhealthy, and then they got an ulcer by the time they're 50. Yeah, I can tell you where you were putting your energy, and you weren't your own priority. So if your own body, not from a vain sense, but your sanctuary, your mind, body, and soul is not a number one priority, anything that you build off of a weak foundation will eventually crumble. So one, make your health, mind, body, and soul your number one priority. Two, do everything that you can to make sure that you have a positive mental attitude towards everything in your life. May be difficult, however, on the other side of that difficulty is the door to more. You know, it's like, nah, but, you know, it's just too hard. You know, it's really hard getting to the end of your life. All your dreams, goals, aspirations are staring over you, saying only you could have brought us to life, so now we got to die because you were so selfish. Mm-hmm. So change your attitude, put your health as a priority, and then find you a mentor. You know, you don't even have to, somebody that you respect, that's living the kind of life and in the way that you want to pattern your behavior by, just so you can have some kind of mental training wheels to go off of. Because everything comes from everywhere. Creation was created, and then everything was spawned off of a creation, off of creation, off of creation. So here's the deal. I have 19 mentors. None of them know me. Success leaves clues. I watch their actions. I read the books that they talk about. I listen to their podcasts. I don't have to ask them questions because they're telling me what they're doing through their actions and through their energy.
Who are some of your top 3 influencers today?
Influencers or mentors?
Let's say mentors.
Yeah, so top 3 mentors, I would say one of them is Conor McGregor.
Love Conor McGregor.
His mindset and his ability to create the life that he wants from where he came from. I can relate so much, you know. So Conor McGregor is one of them. Tony Robbins is another. I just love the fact that he pulls from all of the greatest minds, and he creates this platform for people he evokes so much greatness inside of people, and I could see myself on that path, of course, in a different way because we were raised different, you know. So Tony Robbins, Conor McGregor, and I love this guy right here, Pharrell. You know, just from coming from a musical sense, you could always tell that he was in a world of his own, which is the world of Pharrell creating what he came to create, the things that he would say, the way that he would dress, you know, how he would, you know, promote healthy mind, body, and soul. Those are 3 people that, if you could compare me, I'm like all 3 of them, in given times, or sometimes three of them at the same, because with my upbringing, I have that brashness of Connor at times. But as far as the mindset and speaking into people and evoking greatness and traveling around the world and all these things, there's the Tony. But as far as like the fashion, the artist sense, the understanding of the the power of peace and using your gift to make this world a better place, like Pharrell. So I'm like a blend of those three.
That is amazing. That is amazing. So, knowing what you know now, Garrain, what is the best piece of advice that you can give your younger self?
Keep going. You're not alone.
Love that.
And I wouldn't change one thing, not one thing, because if
live it all
we did,
over
I wouldn't
again.
be here.
Okay, so
If I had to live it all over again, and they're like, okay, so you're about to live it all over again, I wouldn't change one thing, because I love where I'm at right now and where I'm going. Like I love it, and I wouldn't want to mess that up.
You're already impacting and touching so many lives, man. And let's talk about your latest book, Change Your Mindset, Change Your Life.
Hold on.
Woo! I love the cover art too.
Thank you so much.
It speaks so many volumes. It really does.
I didn't even want to put a title on the front. Why? Because I feel like a lot of art in mainstream media, I think a lot of art is it's been diluted. And so I just, on the front, I just wanted to.
I love it. Love it.
Just let it breathe. Change your mindset, change your life. The robotic death, the freaking moss and twigs and the smug, into the life. The roses are blooming, the sky, the sun is out, birds are out, trees are flowing. That whole thing right there, I'm loving it.
So where could our audience get it? On Amazon?
So if you go to Amazon right now, anywhere where Amazon is globally, there's the ebook and there's the paperback. I made it very affordable. It's $12. I think it's $9.95 for the ebook. So it's on Amazon, or you can go to my website, but that link is going to send you to the Amazon. But yeah, that's where you can find it. And it's a book. You know, I didn't write the book to my level of mental and spiritual education, because in this book, I'm not trying to change the top 1%'s mindset. Who I'm trying to reach are people who don't even pick up books. So I made it a very simple, easy read with some illustrations that I created in Over, which is just like a font app, but I made it simple and easy to read. You can read it with your teenagers. You can read it with your family. Read it over and over and over. You're going to get something every day, but it's Everyday People's Guide to Understanding the Powers that live inside of you, so that you can use these tips and tools to potentially produce an extraordinary result in your life.
And it's the same roadmap you used.
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely.
You guys hear that? I love it. So I need to ask you, what is next and how do you intend to leave a legacy? So
the legacy is already being left. It's already being left. So anybody that you impact, your legacy gets left with them. If I was to pass away today, which I'm going to live to be 130, but if I was to pass away today, the messages that I've left in people would have me still be alive. So my legacy is already because I'm in my mission. I'm in my mission and doing and living a purposeful life. Anything that I do where it wakes somebody up, purpose is left, legacy is left, mission is left with them. If they carry that out, it's a wrap. So in that, I'm already doing it. Leading a transformative life to get this world to understand their God-given talent, to utilize it and produce extraordinary results and give that away to other people. That is my legacy. And what's next? You know, I was married. I just got married, and we're talking about babies. So focused. I'm focused on babies, and you know, with this whole COVID-19 thing. So the kind of little shift. So now we're just focusing on staying calm and tranquil and being there for our community, not only ourselves, but for our community and our family and businesses and things.
Of course. How are you guys doing with this whole COVID-19 and staying in your house? Like, how are you testing your creativity right now?
I mean,
what are you studying right now? I see all those quotes behind you.
Yeah, no, but I mean, my whole room is.
I love it. Man, there's Connor right there. That is so awesome.
My whole room is full of people that have inspired me.
Did you do the artwork yourself?
I picked out all the pictures and the quotes, and I worked with the artist, kind of like I work with the artist with this. I have a vision, and I need somebody to carry out this vision.
Love the colors too.
Thank you so much. So what remind me of the question you just asked me?
So how are you currently testing your creativity? And what are you currently studying? Considering we are all homebound.
Yeah, well, the thing about it is this is already a practice that I do daily anyways. So my daily is I'm always finding ways to activate my creativity. Like literally, oh, my wife is so beautiful. Hi, wife. I'm doing a podcast right now. Yeah.
Hi, wife.
Hi.
Were you?
I'm going to get on a call too.
Okay. I love you. So I really love her a lot.
You guys are so cute, especially on social media.
Oh, thank you. You know, I'm always thinking about once I create something. So I have the book that just came out. Now it's taken a life of its own. #1 bestseller.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And now it's like, okay, so I have this long list of 100 things of, okay, now what's next? Now the next thing is we'll be working on creating babies, and then also working on creating the next book, which it kind of presented itself because everybody was sending me photos and videos of them reading with their kids. I'm like, I know God's sending me a sign to write a kid's book next. So I'm going to write a kid's book next, something about how to activate your superhero powers, which would be this book in kids' terms.
Oh, I love that. That's going to be fun.
I relate to kids better than I relate to adults. So
you got to start with the young. You got to start with the youth.
Yeah.
That is
so awesome. We're going to work on that.
How long does it typically take you to maybe start a book and then have it completed? What is like a rough time? About a year?
It's different for different people. I'll tell you this. If you try to write the perfect book, it's going to take you a lifetime. And that's what I did. I started 5 years ago. I'm like, oh my God, but I grew as a person. I don't think this way anymore. So I'm going to go back, change this. And the book kept changing because I kept changing. And so the book just kept evolving and evolving and evolving. And my boy was like, his name is Preston Smiles. He was like, bro, you're never going to get your book done. Just finish your book. And so finally I completed it. And I said, instead of trying to write the perfect book that everybody can relate to, just write the book. And whoever relates to it is going to relate to it, period. Whenever I got to that point there, and I just came from, because I found myself doing what I started doing in music. I'm trying to write to please everyone else instead of just writing. When I just wrote, it took me 2 weeks.
Oh, shit.
5 years trying to write the perfect book, 2 weeks to create something that will change the world.
And it is, I'm telling you. I
Yeah.
just want to say, man, thank you so much again for doing the interview for the second time.
Yeah.
No, but I really
You guys don't know.
you guys don't know. No, but I really, really appreciate it. And again, if you can, just tell our audience where they can contact you and where they can get a hold of you.
So you can get a hold of me. Of course, I'm always on Instagram. So Garrain.Jones.